In a series of harrowing legal proceedings spanning different corners of the United States, a slew of shocking crimes and their consequences have captured headlines and rattled communities. From botched slaying plots to heart-wrenching cases of child exploitation, the judicial system has been grappling with the aftermath of these tragic events. Watch on to see the reactions of these women who got served in court. Number 5. Diana Lovejoy and Weldon McDavid orchestrated a plot resulting in the shooting of Greg Mill, Lovejoy's estranged husband, during a custody battle. Lovejoy received 26 years to life, while McDavid got 50 years to life.
Verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Diana Jean Lovejoy, guilty of the crime of attempted murder of Greg Mulvihill in violation of Penal Code Section 664/187, paren A, paren 1, as charged on count 2. Verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Weldon K. McDavid, guilty of the crime of conspiracy to commit murder.
Diana Lovejoy and Weldon McDavid Jr. were sentenced to lengthy prison terms for their involvement in a failed slay-for-hire plot targeting Lovejoy's estranged husband, Greg Mulvihill. Lovejoy received 26 years to life for conspiracy to commit slayings and attempted slayings, while McDavid got 50 years to life for shooting Mulvihill. The shooting occurred during a bitter divorce and custody battle between Lovejoy and Mulvihill, with allegations of hurt made by Lovejoy being deemed false. McDavid, manipulated by Lovejoy, made a deceptive call to Mulvihill posing as a private investigator to lure him to a secluded area where the shooting took place. Despite denying intent to slay, both Lovejoy and McDavid were found guilty, with McDavid claiming he only intended to shoot out a light, but the prosecution argued he acted as a hired hitman.
We further find true the allegation that Diana Jean Lovejoy acted willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation within the meaning of Penal Code Section 189. Further find true the allegation that Diana Jean Lovejoy was vicariously armed with a firearm within the meaning of Penal Code Section 12022, paren A, paren 1, dated 11/13/17, signed foreperson, to commit murder.
I need to take a break.
Number 4. Shelby Isaac shot and slayed Eddie Tate Jr. and his pregnant girlfriend over a dispute about hair weaves, receiving a 30-year sentence. Shelby Isaac, 19, was found guilty of 2 counts of second-degree slaying, reckless homicide, and criminally negligent homicide for the slaying of a pregnant woman, a man, and an unborn child. Isaac collapsed and cried out during the reading of the verdict as her family wept and her screams filled the courtroom. Prosecutors argued that Isaac lured the victims, Eddie Tate II and Edwina Thomas, to their demise over a dispute involving hair weaves, with Isaac opening fire on Tate's car upon arrival. Defense attorney Lauren Fuchs contested the evidence, highlighting inconsistencies in witness testimony, particularly from Isaac's co-defendant, Victoria Say. Isaac had no prior criminal record, and her lawyers argued that a fingerprint found in Tate's car could have been left during a previous visit for purchasing hair weaves.
Of second-degree murder as included in count 1. Signed by the foreperson of the jury. Mr. Oliver, is that your verdict?
Number 3. Keandria Cook set up a robbery using a dating app which led to a shooting, receiving a reduced sentence of 11 years after a legal reevaluation. After a viral video of her shocked reaction to a 20-year prison sentence for carjacking charges, Keandria Cook has pleaded again to the same charges in court.
18-year-old Daytona Beach High School student who was sentenced to 20 years in prison for carjacking and battery has been allowed to withdraw her plea. The sentence was also thrown out.
Last summer, Circuit Judge Matt Foxman allowed Cook to withdraw her plea, granting her a legal do-over. Now, 5 months later, Cook, 19, has pleaded no contest to principal to carjacking with a lethal weapon, principal to attempted carjacking with a lethal weapon, and principal to aggravated battery with a lethal weapon.
We believe we were sure that she was coming home, that she was looking at community control and house arrest.
and we put our faith in him.
I did tell her there was a good chance she would be going home on the 27th, but I never promised or guaranteed that she would.
During the hearing, Foxman reminded Cook that this plea does not involve a deal with the state and that she faces the possibility of a life sentence.
Obviously, she's not going to prison. She has no prior record. So, I mean, she's looking at probation or community control.
There's no doubt in my mind. I thought I was going home.
And why was there no doubt in your mind?
Because he promised me I was going home.
Cook, who has no prior criminal record, is now working on obtaining her GED and living in Crescent City. Foxman emphasized the importance of cooperating with the Department of Corrections for a pre-sentence investigation. The shooter involved in the carjacking incident is still at large. Cook's previous attorney assured her family that she would not go to prison, but she was ultimately sentenced to 20 years. Foxman allowed Cook to withdraw her previous plea due to a miscommunication between Cook and her former attorney. Cook's charges stem from her involvement in a setup to rob 2 men, resulting in 1 victim being shot. Assistant State Attorney Ashley Terwilliger described Cook as the mastermind behind the crimes. Foxman advised Cook to stay out of trouble and to keep in touch with her attorneys.
For that, I'm going to go ahead and adjudicate you guilty of all 3 charges, sentence you to 20 years in state prison.
Number 2.
Sandra Lane deserves the maximum penalty allowed. Please do not show mercy on her.
Sandra Lane shot her grandson in self-defense, but prosecutors believed she was involved in his demise. The motive was believed to be related to her obsession with her grandson.
She will die in prison. Her own daughter refusing to even call her mother, addressing her instead, as you heard, by her full name in court.
Sandra Lane, a 74-year-old grandmother, pleaded not guilty to slaying charges in the shooting demise of her 17-year-old grandson, Jonathan Hoffman, during a domestic dispute in West Bloomfield Township, Michigan.
Sandra Lane is pure evil, and if given the opportunity, would surely kill again. She has no remorse or conscience. Her only concerns are for herself.
Hoffman called 911 reporting that his grandmother had shot him multiple times with a .40 caliber handgun. Police arrived to find Hoffman fatally wounded, and Lane was arrested at the scene. Lane's attorney stated there were previous problems in the home, and Lane was afraid of her grandson, mentioning a prior domestic disturbance where no arrests were made. Lane was denied bail and will remain in custody. Prosecutors declined to comment after the hearing.
I know what I've done. I don't know what else to say. I just don't know. I didn't want to die in jail.
Why did you keep shooting on the charge of homicide, second-degree murder, that you served 20 to 40 years in the state prison of Michigan?
Number 1. Erika Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham faced life sentences for their involvement in the demise of Erika's daughter, Serenity. Cunningham pleaded guilty while Mays maintained her innocence through an Alfred plea. 2 South Carolina women, Erika Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham, were sentenced to life in prison for beating 3-year-old Serenity Richardson to her end in 2009. The hurting, which included repeated beatings with a belt and plastic coat hangers, occurred while Serenity was visiting Butts and Cunningham. They pleaded guilty to the crime in August. Serenity's mother lived in Detroit, and the women claimed the beatings were punishment for a potty accident. Despite attempting to revive Serenity with bleach and ice, she was found lifeless when emergency services arrived. The prosecutor described it as one of the worst cases of youth exploitation she had encountered. Underage exploitation slayings are believed to be underreported, with most victims being little boys and girls aged 4 and younger.
The severity of the blow to that child's leg, and to say that you did not recognize what had been done. To ignore what must have been the excruciating sounds that came from that child on a daily basis is more than disconcerting to this court. And as such, the court finds it appropriate that each be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of life. You will get credit for any of the time that you serve.
Signing off for now. Tune in next time for another riveting episode.